Will the anniversary ever end? I do not know the answer to that question because we are hit with yet another stage girl gacha, this time with the stage girl Tomoe Tamao being cast as Momotaro. Now, is she worth your gems? And if you see her in PvP, what should you do? I'll answer these questions and more in my review of Momotaro. Now, before I begin, in previous videos of Should You Pull, Should You Ban, I've kind of given you an overview of the skills. I don't think I do as excellent a job as Deontay does, and so I want to refer to you to his videos for that. His name is DANDTE. He does excellent videos, goes in depth to like specific skills, and he also gives a should you pull kind of recommendation. But for me, I want to talk about how she fits into the meta, how she works, how I'd expect to see her used, and how to respond to her. Things I don't think Dante addresses, nor should he have to address them. But I just want to tell you, here's what my videos are going to be like, and should you pull, should you ban moving forward. So when we're talking about her abilities, I'm not going to be going super in depth into like reading what they say, but kind of letting you read them on your own and making of them as you will, and and using what I'm saying about them to contextualize what you're reading. So when we're looking at her, her overview, it does say has balanced stats, and that's actually true. Okay, I know she's known as a big damage dealer, but she has pretty balanced stats. Her HP is actually pretty darn good at 22,000. Her act power is surprisingly modest, mid 1800s. Her normal defense is spectacular in the 1300s, and her special defense could stand to be a little bit better, but I mean, with all her other stats being so good, she, that's pretty respectable. And her agility is the normal 1750 that we're coming to expect with, other girls that match that, like Amaya, with Diao-chan. Who else? I'm sure you could leave those in the comments, but I'm not crazy when I say that's kind of like the average stage girl speed that we're seeing these days. And if depending on whether you're higher or lower than that, that depends in this meta how fast they are. So Momotaro has, in this meta, average speed. Not fast, not slow. For her basic acts, as far as the abilities go, they're not as impressive as you might expect, but they become more impressive the more you think about them. Slash of Brilliance, it's great to have Slash of Brilliance. It sucks not to have Slash of Brilliance, so it's awesome to see it here in the basic acts. Sinking Slash and Befuddling Slash go from, oh, that's freaking sweet, to, I guess it's kind of okay, to, oh, wait, that's actually pretty freaking sweet, as you think about it, okay? So the first thing you notice is Sinking Slash, it does act power down and normal defense down. All great things. Befuddling Slash stuns the enemy. Great thing. However, for both of them, they target the frontmost enemy, which is kind of, you're going to be doing that to the tank. Normal defense down is nice, but the act power, I don't really care. For the stun, Susanoo already does that for 2 AP, and she's barely in the meta. So what makes these two acts so great, especially because they're 3 APs? Well, unlike most, including with Zeus, these are high damage acts. So when Momotaro gets out of control, and I'll tell you how she gets out of control, she can deal massive damage to pucks, to pucks, okay? Because puck has such a low normal defense already, a buffed Momotaro can really nail a puck, just absolutely wreck her, okay? But, yeah, I mean, it's 3 AP, that's a lot to expend. But these abilities are actually pretty cool if you don't really find any better acts. But that's not really why Momotaro gets the buzz she gets. The real buzz comes from her Climax Act. Okay, she is very much like Zeus. She'll cleanse the enemy's buffs. So that's like Pollux Resilience, Pollux Reflect, freaking Pollux, man. Any agility buffs, any perfect aim buffs, and so on and so forth. Anything, as long as she's not aggroed. Okay, if she's aggroed, she only does it to the one girl that aggroed her. So you have to keep that in mind. But she cleanses those effects. Then she does something that makes her act power not as as modest as before. She lowers their normal defense and act power, and then hits at the same level as Zeus. Okay? And what I mean by the same level as Zeus, I mean the same kind of multiplier at a very high damage rate, which is something like 190% of her act power, which is compared to typical high damage, that's 140%. So it's a significant change there. And like I said, the normal defense down makes her act power hit at a higher level than you would expect for 1856. This is where she gets her reputation as a big time damage dealer, because that's what she does, because of her debuff right beforehand. And if you have another normal attacker coming after that, they'll actually deal pretty freaking high damage too. So Momotaro is kind of, she causes a lot of havoc in the opposing team, and they have to play around her, just like they had to play around Zeus. The blind spot for this Climax Act, however, is she does not cleanse your team. Okay, so if you're blinded, she does not cleanse that blind. And that's kind of leading into how I would use her. Okay, you want to put perfect aim on Momotaro. You don't want to be missing with her attacks. Sure, her debuffs are all great. Cleansing the enemy team is great and all that. But you don't want to be missing. Okay? And unlike Zeus, where you kind of had, where you had to choose whether you wanted to go perfect aim and full offense, or if you wanted to be like me and put Kira Fort on her, that's Brilliance and Fortitude on her, because you didn't want her to die. With Momotaro, she's got that freaking awesome normal defense. She's got a respectable special defense. She's got great HP, and she's mid-row, which means she falls into all those other all those buffs that you get from mid-row girls. She's much more likely to stay alive. So as far as what you want to put on her, you want to maximize her damage. And you want it to happen early on. You want to cause the havoc early on, because typically that's when most games are decided. Not all the time, but typically. So temporary perfect aim, like the new 4-star poolside memoir, or even the any kind of what's the 3-star perfect aim? Oh right, the bride memoir with Karuko. You want to put those on your Momotaros. Okay. Now, should you pull for her? Well, that's kind of actually a complex question, because if you noticed, her abilities are all nice and all that, but for some people, and if you've been on a Revue Starlight Discord, you kind of notice this. Like if they get her, they're really excited. If they don't get her, they're actually super salty. I actually was surprised at how salty people were when they didn't get her, relative compared to like the Snow White gacha, which I would consider Snow White to be a better stage girl than Momotaro in pretty much every way except for damage. So what makes her so important? Well, she fits really, really nicely into mid-row meta. Okay, so if you have Pollux, if you have Fanchu, if you have Venus, which has got to be coming up at some point, if you've got the birthday Yuyuko, which is coming out tomorrow, she deals a lot more damage because she gets the mid-row buffs. And if you have Diao-chan, if you have Snow White, if you have Nyahiru, any other mid-buffers? I think that might be it. Oh, and if you get Jekyll when she comes out, she's harder to kill. Unlike Zeus, okay? Making her preferable to Zeus, which is already kind of a must-pull girl. Then, yeah, if you have those girls, Momotaro is definitely a must-pull. And I would say go as far as step 11 to get her, okay? But if you don't have mid-row meta, if you've just kind of got like a jumble of girls, Momotaro doesn't really carry a team like other girls do, because she doesn't have that mid-row US. She only has her global wind unit skill, like a Hifumi. She synergizes with Hifumi, but not as well as she synergizes with other mid-buffers. So, if you don't have those girls, I wouldn't worry about pulling for Momotaro. In fact, my recommendation would be to kind of save your gems and continue to wait for girls, because I do know that back row meta is coming. and I want you to pull for back row meta. So this is kind of a complicated question, should you pull? But it has a pretty simple answer. Do you have mid-row girls? If so, yes. Very much yes. If you don't have mid-row meta girls, probably no, but she's still a good girl. As far as should you ban, I would actually say no. But as far as where she falls on the ban tier list because of her ability to create havoc, she's a tier 3 behind Zeus. And why I put her behind Zeus, despite my kind of showing how in all these ways how Zeus is better. Well, Zeus is not the superior stage girl as far as the meta is right now. She is probably more useful to ban than Momotaro, and here's why. If Momotaro is in the same team as a Fanshiru, Pollux, Snow White, Nyahiru team, the girls you should be banning are those four. You should be banning the mid-row buffer girls, not Momotaro. And if Momotaro is by herself, she's not as good as Zeus because she doesn't cleanse her own team. So you can plan on blinding them and not having to worry about it being cleansed. And Momotaro, unless they're running perfect aim, she'll miss with her attacks. But you can kind of deal with the damage. The whole thing is like, if it's not going to be, Momotaro's not going to be devastating on her own. That's my whole point. Okay. But tier 3, still pretty high. I would probably ban her before I banned a Hifumi. Or Marion, even though those girls are really, really good because of her ability to kind of cause havoc in your own team. You want that consistency for yourself. Now you might be wondering, wait a minute. I thought Zeus was a tier 2 ban. That's what you said in your Zeus video. Well, I did. And that was a long time ago as far as ReLIVE is concerned. However long ago it was still the anniversary. But it was like, I don't know, maybe like a month ago. Okay? Things have changed since then. And if you want to stay up to date, you should join my small Discord server and keep an eye on the PvP advice channel. There we give advice on how to build teams, on what to expect, how, we can set up rehearsals to better prepare you for actual PvP, and so on and so forth. There are plenty of things that go on there. If you're a fan of Bushiroad franchises, we talk about that too. We just have a grand old time. So I do recommend you join the server. But as far as this is concerned, I do have that tier list on there, and you can check on it. I update it as soon as I come up with my answers, right? But that concludes this video. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We try to put out videos every day. But as always, good luck in your reviews and good luck in your polls. And you have a very good night.